I'm Martin Thomas, and you're listening to In Conversation, a podcast brought to you by Sat7. This month, I speak with George Makeen, who has worked for Sat7 for over 20 years, playing a major role in the development and growth of the organisation into a network of 4 channels. Originally from Cairo, Egypt, George is currently Sat7's Content Ministry Advisor, based in the International Office in Cyprus.
So that is like a great thing that you are connecting these people together, and especially you are connecting believers together.
I'm Martin Thomas, Senior Director with Sat7 UK, and I'm joined today by George Makeen. I understand you've worked for Sat7 for now 21 years, is that correct?
Right.
Which means you're really well placed to speak about the issues across the region and how Sat7 is bringing impact to so many different lives and in so many different ways. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Pleasure. I'd like to start by really looking at some of the issues that are affecting the North Africa region at this time. Could you give us a little bit of a brief overview about maybe the political and the cultural situation in North Africa, particularly as it has been impacting countries like Algeria, Morocco and Tunisia?
Right. No, historically, like the Arab world is divided between these 2 big wings, the East and the West, where there is lots of focus on the East, where countries like Egypt, the Levant countries, Iraq, and the Gulf, we feel more connected. We can understand each other easier. Historically, we are aware of each other. Culturally, we are aware of each other to a point or another.
Okay.
While the West part of the Arab world, the North Africa or the Moroccan side, we are not that connected. Like not in the media landscape. Like hardly you find any media that do programs that touches on this area.
Yeah.
Like they have their own media, they have their own culture. We have some assumptions about them. So to start with, like a ministry like Sat7, when we present ourselves as a ministry for the Middle East and North Africa, we are starting by doing it. We are starting to make the impossible, like in a way. And also when we say that for the Christians of the Middle East and North Africa, like when we started 28 years ago, there were hardly any Christians in the North Africa. So also that was another challenge to consider.
But are the challenges as well linguistically in terms of Arabic and the understanding between
it's more than the language.
The
like even those who understands Arabic, they have their own culture, their own. They are more influenced by the French culture, and while we are in the East part of the Arab world, like we have assumptions about them being like the people of culture of. Magical culture sometimes, like certain assumptions that we have about them, but we don't read about their novelists. We are not aware of their musicians.
Yeah.
Culturally, we're disconnected. So that is like a great thing that you are connecting these people together, and especially you are connecting believers together, because like adding to that culturally disconnection, believers there, because they are few, and the first generation of them, all of them are coming from a Muslim background. So they felt that we are alone and we don't belong to that big body of Christ. So that work to start with was a challenge and something we were exploring, and we were excited to do it. While we are working, we are recognizing like several trends about like in these countries, politically and culturally. Like there is kind of we thank God for it. There is kind of social and cultural freedom there. People are believers, especially, they are embraced by their own society to extent, like
and their local communities as well.
Their local community accepts them. Like you talk to Pastor Muhammad, for example. Muhammad is a very Islamic name. Like you cannot imagine Pastor Muhammad. Like it looks like a paradox to start with. But I'm asking the head of the Protestant church, for example. I met with him in Algeria. I was asking him like how you deal with it. Like you are heading a church, but you were not Christian. You were not born Christian. And he said like it's fine. He said so you go to the market, you deal with your neighbors. I said everything is fine. Things are in that sense are good, but there is also the political or the governmental harassment that especially we experienced in Algeria in the last 4-5 years, with lots of churches being shut. In Morocco, there is that tension with lots of laws, like, for example, the law that you cannot destabilize the harmony or the faith of the majority.
Yes.
Very, very elastic law that can be used in any way, but still there is like, you need to know how to maneuver. In Tunisia, like, it's a country that has like contradictions. Like, it's a country with the most liberal and free culture amongst the Arab world, but the country also that imported like the highest rate of fighters per capita to the ISIS when they established. So there is lots of fanatic groups, lots of people there are anger, but there is also liberal and people who are open. And that is like, it's not always like paradox is great, or that contradiction is good, but in that sense, it creates tension. It creates tension within the country and can create tension for the church and for believers. So culturally disconnected, we need to understand them. We need to embrace these people, like to really learn from them, because there are great things we can talk about that we can learn from this place. And also to know how to maneuver within like lots of cultural, political, historical issues that landmines that can explode if you step in the wrong foot with the wrong foot.
No, indeed. But going back to Algeria, and know that there's very few Protestant churches that are still open.
Only one.
Only one out of around 49
Six.
or 46. Okay. Maybe talk me through the process of why or how the authorities of the government were able to close those churches in the ways they did, and it was the expectation that maybe those decisions will be overturned and that they will be able to be open again.
The situation is a bit complicated because, like, as you remember in 2019, when the Algerians started to have that protest against the long dictator who ruled the country, like, he was not able even to stand. Like, he was in a wheelchair, and the former president, Algerians were in the street, like, asking for a change and asking for freedom. And we were calling it the late Arab Spring for the Algeria in 2019. It happened that the president stepped down, and we had a new one, a bit younger. He was 76 or 70 something. Taboun, his name. And people were disappointed. They didn't feel that the change happened. So for a few years during the Corona, they continued having these protests and asking for a change. And the government manipulated the situation in a very clever way. They used the Corona thing to say that people has to stay home for their safety, as if this is what we care about. And then they started to close some churches, saying that they are not following the safety procedures. So lots of churches were closed after that. One funny thing happened during the protests, that they were saying that the government and some media affiliated with the government, they were saying that the churches are supported by external powers, that they want to destabilize Algeria, and this is like, they are not very good. And the claim was, like, to prove it, they said, like, here the church bells, and here the noises that protesters do. In Algeria, it's culturally, they carry this, what you call it, the kitchen tool that you use to smash things.
Or kind of a masher? Or,
and they make noise with it. It's a metal, and they make noise. So an Algerian influencer I was following, like, came in front of the camera, and he said, this is the church bell, and he played it, and this is the noise that we are making. They are not the same, and Christians are not the ones who are doing it. You are responsible, and stop trying to divide us. So it's a matter of political manipulation, trying to control people, trying to widen the gap between the tribes, the Berber, the Arabs. And thank God, like, I think the great thing about the Algerian believers, they feel that we belong to this country. We are not foreigners. We are not supported by outsiders. We are this is our country, this is our churches,
Absolutely.
this is our people. We are giving birth to new generations who are born in Christian families. We are staying here. So
And so the communities are not buying the
division
attempt to
thing.
kind of
which
have diversions.
in my opinion, and I think we are trying to support this by producing more programs, even with the closed churches. Programs like not only to teach believers that you can, like if they close the church, they say it. The church leaders, if they close the building, it's in our hearts, so they cannot take it from our hearts. So we will continue to worship. We are doing
wherever
that, but
wherever we go. And
we're doing programs also like to
Yeah.
let them pray like for different locations in Algeria, different places, to say this is my village, this is my country. I'm praying for its safety. I'm praying for its prosperity. I'm praying for God's peace to be there. So
and embedding the life, work, and witness of the church in that community.
exactly.
You're listening to In Conversation, a podcast brought to you by Sat7. Keep an eye out for our new monthly streaming schedule, including 7-minute briefings, our In Conversation extended interviews, and a new Voices from the Middle East feature, where you can reflect more deeply on stories of faith from our viewers and join with us in praying for the people of the region. See the links in the show notes for more details.
You've moved on to exactly what I wanted to, I suppose, talk about. Sat7's vision has always been to strengthen the church, or however small or fragile or vulnerable it is. But one of the things I love about that vision, it doesn't just stop with we want to see a growing church. It moves on to say we want to see that church contributing to the life, work and witness and contributing to the good of society and culture. And it sounds like the programs that we're doing in North Africa are really seeking to do just that. So could you just share a few things about how programs have had to adapt to the changing situation, particularly in Algeria, but also in some of the other countries as well?
Like to start with, we believe that seeing a growing church, it's not about numbers. It's not about existence, because you can care much about your existence to the point that you forget the reason why you want to exist. You don't want to exist, you want to live and live abundantly, as we are called. So for the church to flourish, to grow, to see a growing church, it has to be witnessing and to be contributing. This is stretching the muscles, and being active is the way. And we start by the most important thing, I think, nowadays, is that you normalize or make people aware that this region has its roots, has its Christian roots. There is a space for believers coming from this land to live and to grow and to witness. When I was visiting Morocco, I met with taxi drivers, peoples in the street. I like to talk to people to understand what is happening. And when we were asking them, I acted naive. I see a church there, and asking them about churches. They say, Christians, you are from Egypt, we love Christians. And then I say, so you have Moroccan Christians, you have churches? They say, no Moroccan Christians. It's for the foreigners, but we love Christians. So they don't have a problem with Christianity or with Christians, but they have a misunderstanding or the knowledge, the faith that there is no Moroccan Christians, for example.
And I suppose the interesting thing will be to see when they actually recognise that there are Moroccan Christians in that situation, how they will react then.
That's I mean to tell them, by the way, there are some. And they are talking your language. They love the same food. They have the same sense of humor. So when we produce programs, we focus on not faith that is disconnected from the culture,
because it's rooted into it.
Sometimes I'm evangelical myself. But one thing, if I want to be critical, is that sometimes we feel we are evaluated from the culture. We can have that kind of teaching that, which is true. The Bible is for everyone.
That we're better than them.
Better, or it doesn't matter much. We are from a different world. But Jesus himself, when he was teaching, he was using his cultural elements. He was very connected to the culture. Otherwise, his message wouldn't be making the same impact on his first hearer as it does to us today. So we are starting from there. When we present teaching program, when we present biblical analysis or Bible study groups, we start from how the culture understands this, how that relates to the problems that we have today in your culture. And we are still tries, like, I mean, we are not producing as much as we produce, for example, in our big centers in Cairo and Beirut, but we are doing good. Like, I think the future also, like our CEO is always saying that this is like strategic for SAT7. We are going to produce even more from this region. And I think it's like not just because of SAT7 strategic needs, but because I really believe that in the East, there is lots to learn from this area.
And I suppose to contribute to each other, as a growing church in North Africa will then contribute to the wider church in the region.
In a sense, yes. And you know, Merton, like the great thing about them, when they don't take things for granted, like when you are born in a church and growing in a church, sometimes you lose the power of the symbols, the meanings. While for this church, because they are coming from a background, everything has to be explored, everything has to be explained. And then while you are doing that, you remember that there are power that sometimes you forgot about. We talk about like we are saved, but we forget like saved from what and for what. For them, like you cannot say saved, like you have to explain the whole story and you have to tell this is why we are saved, this is why we're happy.
That's a real privilege.
It's
to
a
be able to do
phenomenon.
that.
When you hear that church coming from Algeria, for example, or when you hear somebody trying to put the parables of Jesus, as we did in Morocco, in a context that is simple and making sense to people who didn't know about the story. When you try to open that treasure once more, I think it's something to learn from them.
And it brings your own faith alive.
Definitely. Other thing that I think we can learn from them as the church in the East, that being connected, being part of their society, not being shy of saying that I am Algerian, I'm Moroccan, I'm Tunisian. You know, because of lots of things, like it takes forever to unpack. Some Christians in the Middle East, in Egypt and Lebanon, we want to say that we are not Arabs. We are belongs to the Pharaohs or belong to the Phoenicians. We are not part of this oppressing culture. But them, like, no, this is our culture. We love it.
This is who we are.
We are happy to be here. So that is something that I think that allows the witness to be channeled in an easy and normal way. The church to be the light and salt, not hidden, but there in the society. Something also to learn from them.
That's really exciting. In terms of looking ahead at North Africa and new content, new opportunities, what would be your hopes for the coming years?
Lots of things. We don't have enough kids and youth programs. And this is like, as you know, this is SAT7 a focus area in the coming years. So we wish to start to have kids programs that can speak that language. And kids like don't care much about terms. They can enjoy things lots by the visuals more than the words we say. So we want to produce more kids programs. We want to empower women through women programs that speak about the women role in that society. They are, you know, when you visit a country like Tunisia, for example, you enjoy seeing how women there are empowered. When you talk to a cleric in a hotel or simple people, they have that dignity, they have that presence. They look you in the eye because they feel that we are there. That one thing that Tunisia done. And I think in the whole North Africa, women are getting more freedom and more value. So we wish to learn from that also and explore it. We wish to do programs that unpack the heritage of the church fathers, of the Christian areas. And one of the producers, Dr. Muaz Madiouni, was telling me, like, do you know that the New Testament was canonized in Tunisia? I have to take you to the place it was canonized, and we talk about that. Interesting thing for people to know that big role for the church, big chapter of the church history was formed there. So
they have a Christian heritage, and it's about repeating that and demonstrating that so that others are actually know that.
And one personal dream that I think lots of viewers will benefit from is to understand the culture of these countries, because, like, I mean, as I told you, we don't know much about it. So in our new season of the Parables of Jesus, we said that instead of doing it in the villages and in the bit simpler context, we want to go to the city, to a modern Moroccan families and see what if Jesus was telling the parables now to the modern Moroccan families, how it will...
what would it look like?
how he will say it, how it will impact family, how it will impact young ones. So lots of exciting things that are coming.
Things. George, thank you very much for sharing your hopes and your passion for the people of North Africa today.
Thanks for giving me the chance.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation, a podcast brought to you by Sat7. Take a look at today's show notes, where you'll find links to the film studio interview, conversation extracts, plus some key questions for reflection.